Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Dementia in the Arts. I'm Lori LeBay, the founder of Alzheimer's Speaks, and my co-host is Mary Crescenzo. And today we are going to be talking with Gail Gregory, who is a multidisciplined artist that is just fascinating, the work that she does. So Mary and I are really excited to have her on the show today. We also partner with Dementia Action Alliance, who has an arts and dementia group on Facebook, and also Forget Me Not on Facebook that has multiple Facebook pages. So you can check things out there and maybe find some additional support. If you are an artist yourself, feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to be highlighted. Our whole goal here is to raise awareness and kind of stamped on that stigma of people living with dementia can't be productive and can't learn new things. And you'll see today that will crush that stigma totally once you see what Gail has accomplished so far in her journey, which is just incredible. So that's really kind of our format here, pretty informal. Again, just our goal is really to shift those perceptions, bring hope, bring beauty, and get people engaged in and hopefully doing art and maybe trying something they've never tried before. My background is my mom lived with dementia for 30 years, and I wish there would have been a program like this for her, along with so many others. So, Mary, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, I am Mary Crescenzo. I'm very thrilled to always co-host this program with Lori. I'm the author of The Planet Alzheimer's Guide, 8 Ways the Arts Can Transform the Life of Your Loved One and Your Own. I'm also the playwright of the play Planet A about the inner world of dementia. And I must say that if there's a sneeze or two that comes out of me, please forgive me. I'm just coming off of the flu, but I'm still excited to be here with Gail and Lori and all of you.
Great, thanks, Mary. And Gail, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about where you live and when you got diagnosed, and what kind of diagnosis you have.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to come on your show. It's a great honor to be here with you too this afternoon and this morning, depending on where we are in the world. For me, it's the afternoon because I live in the UK and I'm living in Lancashire, near Blackpool. And I was diagnosed in 2019 with early onset Alzheimer's. A little bit of a shock, but as I picked myself up, it is what it is, and I just carried on with life. But for me, dementia, well, dementia, I suppose for me, inspired me to do different things, because once I got over my diagnosis, life is for living. And so this is what I do now. Because I've got more time on my hands because I had to give up my job, which I worked for myself. I was embroidering teddy bears for quite a number of years. And that was just another gut wrenching experience when I had to give over my employment. But I suppose because I was sort of in crafting in a way. Then crafting opened up because I had more time on my hands, and it it became like mindfulness for me, because I could concentrate on something else. For instance, I like photography, so I used to go out walking with my camera, and you just get lost in the world of photography because I was taking a photo and dementia just seemed to disappear because I was concentrating on something else. I was concentrating on the beautiful nature, and the birds song. And so I found this quite therapeutic. So now I try to get out at least once or twice a day to go for a walk with my camera and my two furry friends, my dogs. So yeah, so dementia for me, yeah, it's inspired me, I suppose.
Well, I think it's inspired a lot of people who follow you. You know, you're on Facebook and Twitter, and are you on Instagram as well? I can't remember.
I am.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, definitely follow Gail because her art just lifts you up. I mean, it just always brings joy. And even when you're discussing tough topics, they just touch the heart. You know, the way you portray things. And I know personally, I thought a few times, gosh, I wish I lived where she lives because you're capturing these gorgeous pictures on your camera and you know getting out for a walk and like you said really taking in nature and sharing that with all of us. So pretty neat stuff that you do. Maybe we should start with, do you want to start with sharing maybe a couple of photos of your walks?
Yeah, I have some here. Anybody that follows me will know that I absolutely love robins, and that's just one of the robins. Yeah, they mean a great deal to me, the robins, and I do spend a lot of time trying to tame them, and I even get them to feed out of my hand now. So yeah, people will say, well, how do you get them to do that? Time and patience, which I have a lot of time on my hands, so I will stand there for quite a long time waiting for a robin to come onto my hand. But once you've built that trust with them, it's an absolutely wonderful feeling to just have nature there in the palm of your hand. It's just wonderful. And capturing new life, I love to capture new life. So you know the little goslings and things that, I mean, we are getting very close to new life being born here because we're in spring at the moment. So I can't wait for new life to be born. But it's not only nature, it's also the flowers that I love to capture as well. Yeah, and then obviously I turn that into artwork because I'll take a photograph and then I'll sketch a poppy, for instance, on that one. So yeah, so the photography also leads to art. So it's it's just wonderful.
Well, and your photography has been featured on the news several times.
Yes, it has.
Which is pretty cool too. So Mary, what are your thoughts in terms of the photography and then taking that and then creating art from that?
Well, that is something that artists do often. Of course, everyone does it in their own unique way, as does Gail. But when you take a photograph, now that stands as is. Of course, you can alter it, but it's the beginning often, the primary creativity, inspiration for what you can do. Now you can add color. Now you can add your own touches to it. I think Gail would agree, which she does so beautifully. So that's something that if you want to paint or you want to do different kinds of visual art, you might want to start with a photograph. It gives you something to go from. And then, of course, you can make it your own.
Now, Gail, do you sell your artwork at all?
I don't know. I did raise some money at the end of last year by selling some of my watercolor. I made some little cards for dementia. But I don't really sell my artwork. I have folders and folders full of artwork, and it's growing rapidly.
Gosh, it would be so nice if the artwork was displayed like in clinics and libraries and all of those places, just because it's just so beautifully done. I mean, you're so extremely talented.
Thank
But
you.
then also to give people hope. You know, I think so often with the dementia diagnosis, you know, they're told this is the beginning of the end. And you know, you have really just ripped that to shreds and said this is the beginning of the beginning, you know, of just another stage of life. And
Yeah.
And I found it interesting when you said dementia really kind of inspired you,
Yeah.
to look deeper and broader and wider. What other types of art do you do? I mean, it seems like there's nothing that you can't do.
I think when I got diagnosed, I had in my head that I wanted to try as many different um, art forms that I possibly could, and also crafts. So yeah, so there's quite a lot. The interesting thing is with my artwork, when I was at school, my teacher told me and my parents that I was kind of useless and that I should drop art.
Huh.
So I'd really like to get in touch with my teacher. Unfortunately, I can't. But yeah, I would have liked to have just said, look what I can do. So in a way, I'm thankful for dementia because I found art as well. Lots of different art. I've just started pressing flowers as well, so I've been doing
Oh,
some pressed flowered ones.
that's
Again, being outside in nature, collecting things, and so I'm just pressing a lot of leaves and things like that at the moment. But for me, I tried different types, and the one that I'm really into at the moment, which you've most probably seen online, is my ink, Japanese ink. And I'm really into this at the moment. Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't do that with a paintbrush. I did it with a dried flower. And I was just trying things. And yeah, I just had a dried flower here. So I dipped it in the ink and then just painted it across the paper. So there's all sorts of things that comes to mind on what I can use as well. So staying with nature, the dried flowers and everything, they come in so useful if you just look around you and think.
I love first of all, I love the idea that you used nature, a dried flower as your pen. But also there's that beautiful uphill climb that the person is doing. And that has a lot to do with life for all of us. But still, I find that piece so inspiring. And you also mentioned, which I know happens to a lot of people, someone in their lives says, you can't do paint, you can't sing, you can't draw. And if you're listening and someone told you that, just say, no, I can and I will try. And it will come out again if you just allow it to, because as I often say, we all have the creative spirit in us. Some of us have a given talent that maybe is heightened somewhat, but everyone can pick up a flower and dip it in the ink and see what happens. So thank you for inspiring that for those who might have had that same experience.
I'd like to just add to that. Our last show, we had Carlos on, and when we were looking at his artwork, his is more abstract, but it was so fun because there's no, it just emphasized there's no wrong art. I mean, anybody can create anything, and we all saw different things in what he did. And as we talked about it, was like, oh, I didn't see that before, and you have this conversation, and it just, it I think raises everyone's creativity, which is just a brilliant space to be in, and a space where I think nowadays people don't always feel like they belong. But people can look at your artwork and they will, depending on their life and their perceptions or their eyesight or what, the mood they're in, all of those things are going to factor in terms of what they see and how it makes them feel. And again, I think so often people don't really think in terms of art. We don't go that deep, many of us, to think that art actually makes us feel certain things. It brings out different emotions, which I think is extremely important in today's world. And you seem to always highlight, the beauty in things. I mean, even if it's a tough time you're going through, I always still see the beauty in the light. of what you are experiencing and what you're sharing with us, which I think is brilliant.
Laura, you made a good point about people who might not feel that they fit in. Art is something that we all can do. And if you look at someone's art, you really don't know who they are, where they live, what they look like, how old they are. You may get some hints but that's your creativity looking into the piece. But art is a common denominator, and it really is freeing, as you can see in Gail's beautiful work.
You know, Gail, I don't know if you have this one handy, but I know for a while you were doing stuff on newspaper.
Ah, I was, yes. I don't have it handy, actually. No, it's on the wall in the kitchen. I now have a wall in my kitchen where I display some of my artwork. So it's on there because my husband really liked that piece. Yeah.
When I saw that, I was just like, oh, I never would have thought of doing that. That is so cool.
Yeah. I even draw on maps as well. So, find a map and there's interesting things that you can do. I did a boat on a map as though it's going up a river. There's this. Yeah, you can think of all sorts when you really just relax and let yourself go. And yeah.
And Mary, do you think that's one of the key parts for art is the letting go and just being with it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know for me, when I was younger, I mean, I used to paint with toothpicks, and I would just get into the detail and have so much fun. And people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, like you said, Gail, it occupies my mind and it kind of takes me away on a different level. And I think so often we are paranoid of who's watching us, who's going to judge what we're doing, and then we shut down. And my journey with my mom, I think that was one of the things she gifted me, was to teach me how to play again and not worry. Like, I have a horrible singing voice, just horrible. I love to sing. I'll be in the car, the shower, whatever, singing away. But I still remember my dad in the car one time going to my mom, can you get her to stop? I was very off key. And I have my moments where I can be on key, but for the most part, not so much. And yet my mom in her dementia said, Lori, it doesn't make any difference what you or sound like. When we all sing together, it's beautiful. And when she was saying all together, it was to help me not feel paranoid of standing out and stuff. But I remember over time feeling free to sing with her, knowing I was out of tune, knowing that it was giving her joy to jump into that space. And I guess that's kind of what I see with you, Gail, is you're that lead, kind of drawing us all in and believing that, gosh, maybe we should try this. Maybe we should see what happens. And the scope of the mediums that you use, again, fascinates me as well. I think sometimes people think, well, you just are going to you're going to do one type of art and you're just going to stay there. But you are very creative, and like you said, even using the flowers as a brush. It doesn't have to be in a box the way everyone else does it. I think is a gift in itself, people hearing that from you today.
Yeah, I've even tried painting with coffee, and you get different strengths of coffee so that you can get the different shades. And as soon as I put that piece of art on, there was a gentleman which contacted me and said he wished to buy that piece of art. So because I don't sell my art, I asked him to donate to a charity, and he got the piece of art. But that was something different. But I also like to express how I feel as well. So if I'm having a bad day, I might express it through my artwork, which I find is a great release. It's like writing a diary or a poem. Artwork, you also get that release because you've put it down onto paper, how you're actually feeling, and then you can look at it and I don't know, it just seems to calm me. So if I am having a really bad day and I come into the craft room, which is where I am today, that's what I tend to do, is do some art, and it'll just calm me down.
And
so it helps the dementia.
I think the reason that it does, and also this is, if I may, this answers your question, Lori, about why when you just do it, it feels good and you just takes your mind off other things. And that's because to make art, you have to be in the present. To sing, to draw, even to write, all the focus goes to that discipline. And so everything else disappears and you're in the present where, I mean, really, we all live, but we forget that sometimes. And so as Gail's reaction was, I'm feeling so good. And you were saying about that, that's why. And that's why it's so useful to all of us. It just brings you into that moment. Nothing else matters.
That is so true. And finding that peace and calm is, again, I think just a critical piece today that people really need to be able to see and touch and feel, because I think it's missing in the world compared to what it used to be. I think there used to be a lot more calmness, and people seem to be more on edge. And so having an outlet is wonderful. I'm wondering, Gail, I read a piece this morning on your blog, and I'd love people to know about your blog because your writings are profound as well. If you might share that piece, because it was talking about, you know, how you were feeling and it's an off day, and I think sometimes we don't really understand what that means, but you really get that across very well if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'll read you a piece from the blog, which actually went out today. And it's called A Bad Day for My Head. I have no idea what day it is, but I can see a little bit of light coming through my blinds. I know it must be nearly morning, as the dogs are getting agitated, which can only mean that they need to go out and they need their breakfast. I sit up in bed and realise that my head is not Gail today. My head is taken over by my sidekick. It feels heavy and fuzzy. This is the repercussions of having a few previous busy days. You would think that I would learn by now. You would think I would have learned to take things easier. I get up and I feed the dogs and I let them out, and then I return straight back to bed, which is not like me. I'm normally planning my day where I can go for a walk with my dogs, but not this morning. This morning feels tough. Once hubby has gone to work, I try to get back to sleep, and I'm in and out of consciousness. Every time I wake, I open my eyes and just check where I am. I hear a noise and I look outside, but there's nothing there, only a couple of pigeons having a bath in a puddle at the end of our driveway. Their enjoyment draws me in as I stand at the window, watching them flapping and splashing around. They look to be having so much fun, yet the rain is pouring. I get quite fixated, and then I realise perhaps it's not a good look for me just to be standing, staring out of the window. What will the neighbours think? Me stood here just looking out of the window. So I return back to bed, feeling very uneasy. I can't seem to relax. And now the dogs are watching me like a hawk, most probably willing me to get dressed and pick up their lead. I don't really want to go for my morning walk. I'm not ready for walking yet. Plus, do I really want to get soaked by the rain? I wander around the house and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. I go to the bathroom and start to clean. I don't know why I'm cleaning, and within minutes, I just feel drained. I'm confused, so I return back to my bed. I lie in bed in a slouch position with pillows propped up behind me. The room is silent. The house is silent. Just me, my sidekick, and my dogs, which are both asleep obviously fed up of waiting for me this morning. I absolutely hate these days. I hate them with a passion, as it's so hard to describe to somebody just how these days feel. I can usually get out for a walk, but not this morning. Hopefully, if my head clears and my sidekick leaves me, I might get out for a walk later. But today I don't feel I should be walking alone, not at this particular moment. I think today I'll just do the sleeping in silence of my own home. This is one of the worst days I have ever had. I'm not even comfortable in my own home. I'm not relaxed. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I mean, I
Mm.
think it really it hits to the heart of everything, the being thrown off your routine, that the dogs even notice the difference. You're noticing the difference. You're trying, but you just can't click on all cylinders. And that lack of safety, to me, really hits home. And I think that that is so important for people to understand. So again, your writings are very profound, and you write about, all kinds of different things. What is the name of your blog if people want to follow you?
The name is Too Young for Dementia.
The other thing I was doing, again, I'm just fascinated by what you do, but you did a piece, and I saw it on Twitter, and it was street work where you took some chalk and you drew a dragon. What I loved with that piece was I just thought the joy that's bringing to so many people just walking by, just being able to see, that dragon, on the street. I guess what made you decide to pick up the chalk and do that?
It was actually a very good friend of mine who passed away not that long ago, Wendy Mitchell. And she's inspired me in so many ways. From the start of my diagnosis, she became quite a good friend because we met during lockdown, and we met one another in real life and not just on the screen, which was fantastic. But she used to inspire me by sending me a photo saying, I bet you can't do this. Now, anybody that says that to me, I've got to have a go. And one of the things was street art. And yeah, I'd actually done a couple of pieces just before she died, and she always used to comment on my artwork. So I so miss her dearly. Yeah, I miss her comments, and I miss her to just, send me these images of things. But yet it was Wendy that inspired me to try.
That was such a profound piece. So your work is prolific. You have so many avenues. Tell us about your sidekick. I think we might know, but that's a very powerful metaphor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I was diagnosed, for me, trying to cope with knowing that there was something going on in my head, and knowing that some days I'm not just quite me, I started calling my dementia my sidekick. So if I'm having a bad day, I can blame somebody for that bad day, and it's always my sidekick. So yeah, that's where that came from, and it came quite early on in my diagnosis. And I suppose for me, it's a coping mechanism as well, by calling that, because it's affecting me and disrupting me. So yeah, that's where the sidekick came in.
It's a beautiful, powerful, and very appropriate metaphor. I've never heard a metaphor even used for this, for dementia. So, wow, that piece was wonderful. Thank you. And I will be more careful to get on your blog more often. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll share my screen because I'm on your Twitter account right now, and we can show people just the variety and the frequency that you post too, which I think is really beautiful. If that's okay with you, I would love to be able to highlight some of these things for for people and just show the ease in which they can follow you. I loved this panda picture. It's just so playful. What did you do? Is this watercolor?
It's ink. I'm into the ink drawings at the moment, and all that is with a what it's called a glass pen, and some black ink, and then I have some other coloured inks, not very many, because I'm only sort of experimenting at the moment with that sort of thing. But yeah, that's just ink.
Okay. And then these are just some pictures from your walk. Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah.
And clouds and overlooking the sunrises and the sunsets that you capture are just phenomenal. Here's another one that's just absolutely gorgeous. And
Yeah, I like to put a piece of artwork on every morning. Well, Monday to Friday. I give myself a break at weekends. But yeah, because obviously it keeps my mind active as well. And I think by doing my art, it is keeping my brain active. So it's got to be beneficial to the dementia by keeping it active. So I do try to do at least one piece of art every single day.
yep. Well,
Absolutely.
you also are very much an advocate. There was the commercial that came out with the Alzheimer's Society, and have written about that. Here's a piece you had done with your grandson Harry, who was going through some tough times. Fun one with Easter. Again, here's some more nature pictures. I just love this little chick.
Hmm.
That chick brings me back to when I was a child and we used to get little chicks at Easter time. I mean, that's exactly where my mind and my heart went to when I saw that. But it's pretty incredible. Same with
I love this rabbit. And he just pops out and looks at me.
I know. And then here you really, caught some things in great positioning with the full moon, and here you are on the news with
Oh yes, yes.
one of your captures. Yeah. So there's a couple things down here I wanted to show. Let me see if I can find them. Now this piece here, this was by George, was George Rook. The picture here kind of caught me. Was that one you did, or is that something that?
No, I done something very similar to that. I don't know if I've got it with me. Oh, it's behind me here. I have it behind me. I don't know if you can see it because I can't see.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yeah, with the mask. Again, this is me sort of hiding behind the mask, which I talk about as well, because yeah, we all put that brave face on. And I think by drawing that as well, it made people think, yeah, we do actually hide behind a mask. There's many days where we're just not feeling ourselves, but we will put a smile on for people and we will put that brave face on. So yeah.
I'm going to go back to the Twitter page here just quick, because there was a couple other pieces that I thought were fascinating here. Let me get down. You had some other Japanese pictures that you did. Now, this is kind of neat here too. This is not the end of living life. And do you I just thought this was a really cool piece in terms of getting people to reevaluate how they look at their life. Do what makes you happy. And I think so often we don't do that. We do what we think other people want us to do.
Yeah, that is so true.
Here's that dragon piece that I just thought was
yeah, my street
I
art.
love that.
Yep. Yep. So this was another one of your Japanese paintings here.
Yeah.
And I loved these cats. Gosh, you just really captured some cool pictures here with them. Where is this piece? I thought was just stunning. Absolutely stunning. What did you use, to make the scenery in the back? It's just so profound, the white and, that trucking through the snow.
That piece was created by drawing just a line of water with a brush, and then putting a line of black ink through the water. And what happens is the ink will spread. So you've no control over it, it just happens. And then I just put the little person with dragging the bags at the back of them. Yeah, a lot of people commented on that one.
Wow.
Very powerful.
See, and I would have no idea that you just let that top part do it.
Yeah.
Because it just looks so detailed and so refined and so planned out in my mind. Because I think it is so profound. So yeah, there's just so many neat things. Here you are in the news again.
Yeah, how did you get on the news? How did they find out about you and your beautiful work?
I post my pictures to the BBC and to the ITV every day via an email. And then just by chance, a lady spotted that I had a Scotty dog and that I lived in Blackpool, and her parents used to live in Blackpool. So she became quite interested in what I did and why I did it. Yeah, so every now and again, well, it's normally once a week I have a photo on the TV now. But it's just it gives you a boost as well. It's just nice to see something of yours that's on the TV.
Absolutely.
So again, would I have done this but for dementia? Probably not. So dementia's brought me a lot of things. So I have dementia to be thankful for, really, in a way.
I like to say that art brings light into the darkness of this disease, and anyone can do it. And you are just so prolific on this. Do you go from one style? It seems like you go from one style to another, just whatever hits your fancy that day. And I like that. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do watercolor for the next 3 weeks. That's, just, it seems like that's what you do. Is that correct? You just let it happen?
Yeah, it did, like, I'm really into the ink at the moment, and I'm really enjoying that. But who says that I'm going to be enjoying it next week? Maybe not. So next week it might change, and then I might go back to the ink. There's just so many different things that I've tried. Like watercolors with just letting it run through the water and things like that. Doesn't always work out, but it's all about trying. And what I always say is, when people say, well, I can't do that, well, have you tried? Because if you haven't tried, you don't know whether you can do it or not. And that's the main thing. It's all about trying and just giving it a go.
Absolutely.
And would you say people should try more than once? I mean, because again,
definitely.
It's not, like most things in life, it takes practice. You have to get the feel of the medium that you're using and the tools that you're using, and even the mood that you're in, I would imagine, makes a difference in terms of how it's going to come out. And
yeah, definitely. I know for me, sometimes I'll come into my craft room and I'll think, right, I'm going to do a painting of whatever, and I'll start and it just doesn't turn out right. But the thing is, I don't give up. I just think, today is not that day for me. So tomorrow I'll try again. And then I might try tomorrow and I might get something fantastic out of it. And art's quite different. You don't always produce a fantastic piece of artwork. Everything I produce doesn't come out perfect. My bin's normally full, but it's just about keeping going and keep trying and trying until you get the piece that you're happy with. And what I'm happy with and what somebody else is happy with might be totally different, because we all see different things in a piece of art.
So for your platform, in terms of, do you like canvas or paper, or again, it seems like you do a variety of different things. I know cost factors can be an issue for some people, and so are there things that can be reusable? Let's say you do something and you don't really like that, or you can like, I can use that piece over again and maybe just paint it white and start all over.
Yeah, I normally use paper. And if I make a mess on one side, I can always use the other side. So because there's two sides. So yeah. What else do I use? I have used canvas. I don't do a lot of work on canvas. I have done some 3D work on canvas, which I quite enjoyed doing that. And these are like 3D flowers, which I produce those with like a clay. But I don't do a lot of work on canvas. I have tried oil painting, but I've only done one oil painting because it seems to take quite a long time to dry. And I think for me, I like to see something quite quickly. I don't like to wait.
Lori, to respond to your question, just get a pencil, a pen, any kind of pen, a piece of paper. You can turn it over often. Just there are so many simple ways to the chalk. I love the chalk. Even maybe chalk on a piece of paper if you can't bend down on the ground. You can just find the simple things around you, like the paintbrush from a plant. Don't have to buy the most expensive materials.
No, that's true.
Don't you think sometimes people use that as a barrier? I can't afford to do this. And I would imagine you can probably go to the dollar store or something and pick up some art stuff there as well. I know I do that with my grandkids and we have a ball. They love experimenting with different things, and so I don't think everything has to cost a lot of money. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. I know we've had El Marie on from she's over in Africa, and I asked her one day and I'm like, where do you put all your artwork? Because when she shows it, it's all framed, and she's like, Lori, I don't have one thing on my walls. Not one thing's in a frame. She said that would cost me an arm and a leg to do. So she gets a virtual frame and presents it that way. But I've just amazed with her too in the variety of things. She does jewelry and etching and watercolors, and like you, I think there are things that she could do. She's just not afraid to try, and it's just, again, prolific, what is produced. And I get kind of jealous of both of you too. To be honest with you. And then yet I got to kick myself in the butt because I'm not putting time in to try, so it's like, well, go ahead, be jealous, Laura, but you're not making that time to try to find that peace or happiness, or develop a hobby at the level that you guys have. And so I really need to up that on my list of things to do. And I would encourage others to do that as well, because the one thing I think Mary and I have heard from so many people is when we've been doing these interviews is the peacefulness people get doing the art, and how it kind of reduces the symptoms that they're feeling, when they're in that peaceful, content stage. And I think that's applicable for everybody's life, to be able to find that peace and to feel productive as well. Having that product at the end. And
yeah, I always say when I come into the craft room and I'm doing a piece of art, that you get so consumed in that piece of art that everything else around you just disappears. And it's not only 5 or 10 minutes, you're talking an hour, 2 hours will pass before you even know it. And that's the beauty of it, because if you're having a bad day, those 2 hours are just the most wonderful 2 hours that you've got in your day, even if it's a bad day. So there's always something positive.
And Lori, in terms of your thinking about time, I think people are saying, I don't have the time to do this, and we're all busy. The other side of sitting down and doing it and just letting hours pass by is tell yourself, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. I'm going to put the timer on, and I'm just going to scribble, just doodle, pen and paper. When it's up, okay, I know I'm a busy person. I'll go back to what I need to do. But just that little 5 minutes will make you feel good.
I think of back junior high school, I
Excuse
used to
me.
be a big doodler. I'd be sitting in class and I would just doodle, doodle, doodle. And yet, I could take everything in. And I don't do that now. And yet there was such a calmness in just doodling, uh, that that's something I haven't thought about in ages. And so it is kind of funny how you get out of practice, or you tell yourself you're too busy, that it's not a priority, and yet who doesn't want peace and kind of love and kindness and contentment in their life? I mean, I think that should be a priority for all of us.
Absolutely. I think that's what singing in the shower is about too.
Yep. Yep. Oh gosh. Gail, are there pieces that you wanted to share with us? We looked at quite a few, but it's
This one I did with paper, and that for me is how I see dementia, because there's little bits that's just fading, and fading away. So yeah, so there was that piece, and then there's a piece where that's a bad day, where yeah, we can see all the spikes coming out of my head. That's how my head feels to me on a bad day. So yeah, I like to capture how I'm feeling. Yeah, and that's one where there's two faces. You've got the face that's very calm, but you've also got the face that's screaming inside, which I think, yeah, I think we've all been there at times.
it's funny when you held that one up. At first, I just saw the one calm face, and then when you said it, I didn't see the second one until you said that,
Yeah,
and then it was like, wow,
yeah,
because
yeah.
conflict inside of us so often. And sharing that gives people permission to know that's common. We do
Yeah,
feel it, and we shouldn't be ashamed of it. It happens.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And putting it down on paper kind of separates ourselves from it. And we can say, okay, that's how I feel, and it's okay. And that, like, as you say, Laura, giving you permission. And then you can go on and just set it aside and maybe look at it later and maybe feel better or not. But it's there for you. It's private. It's free to do. And it does make a difference to give yourself permission to feel and to find a place for it, whether it's singing or putting it on paper. Yeah.
Wow. Um, I can't express enough how grateful I am that you shared your story and your art with us today. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and open doors for different types of art and different ways to approach art as well. And it's okay to push it out there and make it public if you want to. I mean, you look at just the followers and the likes and the comments you have on Twitter and your blog, and it really does help other people have a good day. And I think sometimes people think, oh, I shouldn't do that. That's for me, or what will people think? But I think people will be surprised at what people think, and what a gift it is to others when you share like that. It's very, very powerful.
Thank you.
Mary, anything else you want to say? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and wrap up here.
It's just my great pleasure to talk with you, Gail, and to see all that you do and how you feel about it and how you approach it and your motivation. Um, it just every day brings joy to me when I open that Facebook page. So I
Oh,
think
thank you so much.
you're
Thank
quite
you.
welcome. And I think that Laurie is absolutely correct. People will listen to this and say, I could give it a try. If it's going to give me peace, why not?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, and if people want to put it on the Dementia Action Alliance Arts and Dementia page, that's a group that shares their artwork. So if you're not quite sure in the beginning, but you want to share it with other artists, living with dementia first, feel free to post there. And maybe some of you listening might be doing art and want to share it here. Mary and I would love to talk to you. Our goal is every month to bring somebody online and share their beautiful artwork and why they got into it and what it does for them and what it does for others as well. I think it's really important to understand. So again, thank you so much, Gail. I'll just ask if there's anything else that you wanted to add last minute here.
No, I think we've covered. I could have spoken all day about arts and crafts, but yeah, I'd just like to thank you for inviting me to speak. And I really hope that people out there will just give it a try.
Yeah. Have you ever done a class on art for people, with dementia? Or I'm even just thinking, you have such a variety and such a wonderful mindset about it in terms of just trying to engage others and encourage them to start some art. And I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in or not, but I think there's others that might be interested in hearing more and being able to ask questions of you directly.
Yeah, yeah, possibly that's something I should think about. Yeah, because if it inspires others, yeah, I'm willing to do anything. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it. And Mary, it's always a pleasure working with you and raising these wonderful artist voices and artwork. I just think how lucky I am to have this kind of job because it is very powerful. And I
Likewise, my pleasure.
Yeah, and I always walk away learning from these, which I really appreciate. So again, thank you so much, Gail. To our listeners, again, we'd love you to be a giver of hope and just pass this video along. I think it'll inspire others, give them hope, calmness, and maybe, just maybe, they will try some art themselves and spread the love. So take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.